Yo, what is good, YouTube? Welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we are going to be going through and ranking the best point guards in NBA 2K25 MyTEAM here on this tier list. Before we hop into the video, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help me push towards the 40,000 subscriber mark on the channel. I'm uploading every single day, multiple videos a day. Would really appreciate it if y'all do subscribe. Without further ado, we got about 38 of the best PGs in my team right now. Basically, every single pink diamond point guard plus opal point guard, and then the good diamond point guards, or at least the 3 best diamond point guards on this list. So before we hop into the video, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help me push. I already said that, didn't I? My bad. Either way. All right, let's hop into it and let's start this list with Chauncey Billups, who is elite defensively. And I mean truly elite, but his jumper isn't great and he doesn't really dunk the ball. So he is, and he's also short. He's the best defensive point guard pretty much in the freaking game, I think. I mean, the way he plays, his defensive animations are nuts. I know his stats and badges are really good, but you wouldn't expect him to be that good. I don't know why. He gets the best defensive animations ever. Still think he's probably C tier though. Honestly, Rondo, same thing. Rondo can kind of dunk. Rondo's release is decent, but his 3-ball rating's pretty low. He's good defensively, but he's only 6 foot. That lack of size matters. I don't think he's a total liability, but I still think he's probably C tier. Gonna go SGA and A tier. Definitely a very good point guard. Not quite best of the best at this point in the game, but I think he's still a stud. His release is good. It's fast. He's got some decent movement. I mean, his escape's pretty good. His push cross is good. Dribble style's decent. Dunks the ball well. Solid defender. Like, not a bad card at all. Do think Levine deserves S tier still. His release is incredible, as is his slashing, and he comes more complete defensively than a lot of similar point guards to him. And he's got some size as well. Really good card. Caruso provides elite level defense at the point guard position, and he's a very good slasher as well. Jumper's decent. He doesn't have much in terms of SIGs, but he is still good enough as a card to deserve a spot here in the top tier, or top couple tiers. He might be low A. I think he might be low A. I like this Caruso card. I think he's good. Jason Terry sucks. He's can't dunk really. His jumper's not unbelievable. He's undersized. He's not a top tier card. Derrick Rose is super athletic and on paper really good, but he's a little undersized. His jumper isn't unbelievable. I think B tier is probably fair for him. Gary Payton, ton of defense. Don't love him as much as Caruso in my personal opinion, just because I think Caruso gives you a little bit more slashing wise. GP does have a slightly better release, maybe though, and similar movement, maybe slightly better. Good card, not unbelievable. I think B tier at this point is probably fair. D Wade, if he had a better jumper, I'd have him in B tier, as is. I think C tier is fair. He's not a horrible card, but his jumper's pretty bad. He is good defensively and is a slasher, but he doesn't have great dunk animations. I think C tier is probably fair. Jerry West, really good defensive card, a lot of good Hall of Fame badges. Realistically, overall, though, I think it's hard to put him any higher than B tier because he's not a truly top tier option in any specific area besides that perimeter defense. And I mean, he doesn't have unbelievable size or anything like that. He's a good card. I don't think he's a great card, is probably a fair conclusion for how I would rank this Jerry West. Darius Garland, really solid offensively, gives you a great release, fast jump shot, and good SIGs for a PG, but he's undersized. He's not an elite slasher. He's not good defensively. I think, again, when you're looking at the best point guards in the game, he's probably C tier. Jalen Brunson is one of the better short point guards in the game. Really good, decent movement, fast jump shot, can kind of dunk. Defensively, not horrible. He is undersized, though. He's probably C tier, to be totally honest with you. I feel like at his size, it's when you compare to the best, I think C tier is probably fair. Tyrese Halliburton, I'm probably going D tier at this point. I don't know. I feel like I'm like being kind of strict on this list, but I feel like I have to be. There's so many of these point guards on this list that are just mid, and Halliburton, I mean, his release is kind of bad. I don't love his jumper. He's got okay movement. He's okay defensively. He is 6'5". He's not D tier, but he's not any higher than C tier either. Derek White has a really good jump shot and is a very good defensive point guard. I feel like he's pretty similar to a Drew Holiday type of card. He's okay athletically, but certainly not a great slasher or anything like that. I do think he's a pretty good card, though. I don't really have an issue with him. But is he really B tier? I don't know. Cade Cunningham is S tier. That one I am confident about. Top tier jump shot, top tier escape, good dribble style. Fade isn't great, but defensively he's good. He's got a bigger player build than almost any point guard in the game. He provides a lot of versatility and a lot of value as a card, I think, and I am pretty high on him as an overall option compared to the majority of the other point guards we've looked at on this list so far. Definitely a definitive S tier for sure. I have Caruso in the S tier, or sorry, I have Caruso in the A tier, which means that I also, of course, have Marcus Smart in the A tier. He is a very similar card to Caruso, in my opinion, just a slightly better version. Provides a little bit more movement and a little bit more shooting ability, than Caruso, and that to me is the main thing that I think makes him really, really valuable. But I like Marcus Smart a lot. I think him and Caruso are both like two of the best budget point guards in the game, and it's not even close. Definitely both A tier. Sidney Moncrief, don't think I'd quite go S tier with him because he's got a low 3-ball, but his jumper is good. He's a really good defensive point guard, even if he's not unbelievably big. He's got really good badges. Just a low 3-ball is something that does hold him back a little bit, but not enough to like make him anything lower than A tier for sure. I think you could make an argument for him as S tier still as well if you wanted to, but to me, I'm going to go A tier for Sidney Moncrief. John Morant, I guess is probably B at this point. The slashing is elite. The jumper's good. I don't think he's like game changing at all when it comes to his actual like SIGs though at this point. I think the movement's a little overrated, honestly. Like I don't know. I like jaw cards in my team. I don't generally love jaw cards in my team, and I feel like this card is a good example of that, where again, as he's not a bad card, but he's not a truly top tier option at this point. The point guard position either is like low B feels probably. I guess I have Derek White in B tier too, so I don't really have a big issue with where I'm putting him here. I think Harden also goes. We'll go low A for Harden. I think he might wind up being the last card in A tier, to be totally honest. But I don't know. Harden's a good card. He's A tier though. Maybe I'll move one of these guys from A tier up to S tier. We'll see. We'll see as I progress through the list. I might have to move one or two of these guys up. I think Trae Young is D tier. He is trash, like legitimately trash. That card is terrible. He is awful defensively and he can't dunk. The only thing he does well is he's kind of fun to shot create with, but as a whole, he is obviously not a stud. LaMelo Ball is another A tier point guard, bro. I'm gonna have to move. I think Shea is my favorite of these guys so far, so I'm moving him up to S tier because I think Shea deserves that S tier spot. Again, LaMelo, I wish his defense was a little better. Honestly, SIGs wise, little disappointing compared to what LaMelo is capable of doing in real life as well. I always think that his cards should maybe have a little bit better movement than they have the last couple 2Ks. And so that's my biggest, again, criticism probably of LaMelo is just that I don't think he moves as well as he should. You think LaMelo Ball and you think super fun shot creator, offensive card. Yes, his jumper is great, but his movement, in all honesty, is not anything special. So to me, LaMelo is kind of a solid A tier, but nothing more type of card. Luka's going to go C tier. Luka would be D tier if he wasn't 6'7". That's really the only thing that maintains value for this Luka card is the fact that he is as tall as he is, because otherwise I don't think he's a great card either. Got no issues with him in C tier. Excuse me, y'all. I'm still sick. Damian Lillard. My boy Carson's going to be mad at me for this one, but I'm putting him D tier. Yeah. I think Dame has officially reached the point of being D tier. Defensively, he struggles too much. Offensively, he's got a very fast jump shot, and he's good. He's a good shooter all the way around, of course, and everything like that. But outside of that, I don't look at this Dame card and think top tier PG in any way at this point. Honestly, Kyrie as well. Despite me being a Mavs fan, he's definitely D tier as well. Release is fine, actually pretty good this year, but movement isn't really as good as it was last year, in my opinion. He can't slash. He's not good defensively. Feel like he's probably D tier as well. 1 sec. All right, sorry, y'all. I'm back. Sickness is bothering me still, but doing the best we can to push through. Sorry. Anyways, Steph Curry, I think realistically is also. I have Ja in B. I don't know. Ja feels too high, maybe because I like Rondo. I feel like in Billups just as much as Ja. Steph is. People are not going to like this one, but I think he's C. Because the problem with Steph is he's so small and he's not an elite athlete. His movement isn't as good as it used to be in my team. Like, it's not horrible, but it's not as good. Again, I just don't think he's an incredible card. D-Book, I think, is definitely A tier. Another one of those guys who I think you could argue S tier if you wanted to, but right now I feel like he's probably in that A tier. But again, I don't know. It's tough when you get to the spot in the list for sure. Magic is going to go B tier mainly because he's 6'9". His size and switchability defensively is just something you can't argue with the value of. Regardless of anything else you think about this Magic card, the size and switchability defensively provides a ton of value as a masher, and obviously in terms of versatility defensively. Tyler Hero, I think, is going to go top of B tier. Good card, not unbelievable, but solid. His release is good. He can defend a little bit. He's got enough size. Offensively, he's fun. He's like the worst version of Booker. I think he's a pretty good card. Steve Francis is terrible. His jumper stinks. I know he's good athletically, but he's not an elite defender. That card is horrible. He is D tier for sure. Bronny, I think, is probably also C tier. Like, he's not quite D tier, but he's not a particularly good card. Has okay size, but not great. He's not an unbelievably elite slasher. Release is kind of a little baited. I mean, he's just not top tier either. CJ McCollum, is he? He might be C. I don't know. I don't think CJ's that good either. When I look at the rest of this list, he's probably the worst card left. So I think he's probably also D tier. I like a lot of these cards left, and I feel like a guy like CJ McCollum just isn't going to give you enough. I mean, his jumper's good, but he's not elite defensively. He's not super big. He's not a great slasher. Like, not a great card. Joe Dumars does provide a good amount of value on both ends of the court. I think he's a really good defender, but he's a little undersized. He does have a solid jumper and good shooting badges as well. Like, he's viably B tier, but I don't think I'd put him higher than that. Definitely A tier for Drew Holiday. Definitely think he's a really good card, elite defensively, very similar to a guy like Sidney Moncrief. Would be a very valid comparison. I think for Drew Holiday provides very similar value on the court. Donovan Mitchell, I think low B tier. He is really, really solid in terms of stats and badges, obviously. Defensively, he's not bad, but again, he's a little bit undersized, even with the 6'10 wingspan. I do think he struggles a bit at times when it comes to the size aspect still defensively. Jumper good, slashing great, movement not amazing, but acceptable enough to get the job done, I would say. Again, I think like not a liability of a card, but not an elite level option at this point either. So I think B tier is probably the right spot for D Mitch. Gilbert Arenas, probably also B tier, to be honest. I'm going to move Ja down. I'm looking at this list. I think Ja needs to be moved down. I think I'm moving Darius Garland to D tier as well because he's a little too limited. I think this balances it out a little bit more because I don't think Gilbert can go A tier. His release isn't great. His movement isn't great. He's a good card, but he's not a great card. I think B tier is the right for him. Honestly, De'Aaron Fox probably falls into all these other C tier cards as well. Like, he's going to slash good. His release is good. He's not horrible, but he's undersized. He's just not elite. The point guard position, there's so few like truly elite cards. I feel like it's hard to put him higher than high C tier at this point. Maybe y'all are going to, I don't know. I'll be interested to hear y'all's thoughts on this list. But Penny is S tier. Penny's best point guard in the game, in my opinion. He is an absolute dog. I don't think there's any real criticism that I can make of a Penny Hardaway card. If there are any cards in my team that are better than him at the point guard position, y'all let me know what your opinion is. But I think Penny's the best point guard in the game, and I have no issues whatsoever with him as an S tier. And then I think obviously Dyson Daniels is another A tier PG, but it does put in one tough spot here. There's only 4 cards in S tier. Who is the 5th S tier PG? This is the problem with the point guard position, because I think you could make an argument for 5 or 6 of the guys in A tier as the next best point guard, depending on what you're looking for. Me personally, I think I'd give the edge to Moncrief. He gives you defense, he gives you slashing, he gives you a good fade, he gives you a good jump shot, and he gives you decent movement. I think that's what I'm going to go with. And honestly, this is going to be my tier list. So y'all may not love it, y'all may not think it's perfect, but I think overall it's a pretty solid list, and I'd be interested to hear y'all's thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know if there's anything you disagree with. And if you did enjoy the video, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more 2K content very, very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.